just looking at it from like a sustainability point of view, like, you know, because the people coming through aren't, I mean, they probably will because he is that big, but not to the same scale as what he had, not to the same scale as like, you know, creating these videos and we're just going viral and topping YouTube every time. I think the kids coming through now won't be necessarily as interested in that content. They'll be going watching TikTok instead and stuff like that. So I think he's definitely got to look at that. And I think that's not things that he could have improved in the tech, because everything he's done to this point has worked really well. But I think maybe things that he could improve going forward. And I guess that's a great segue into saying, what do you see the future for MrBeast? That's just a question I want to put at you. How do you see it? Like, where's MrBeast in 10 years' time, 20 years' time? Like, how do you see things panning out for him? Is he going to be a billionaire? I think that's a more direct question.
That's more direct.
What's up, guys? Rich here. You're listening to the 2610 podcast, a place where we aim to share, along with the help of our guests, best practices you should be using in order to grow and scale your business on social media. If you find this episode useful, then please share with a fellow entrepreneur, founder, marketer, or anyone else who might also get some value from it, and let's all grow together. With that said, let's jump straight into it. So in this episode, we are discussing none other than the great MrBeast, otherwise known as Jimmy Donaldson. That's his real name. He is a popular YouTuber, of course, social media personality, known for his extravagant stunts, challenges, and giveaways. Numbers as of right now, his net worth, 2023, is $105 million. YouTube, he has 140 million subscribers. TikTok, 180 million followers. Instagram, 25 million followers. And Twitter, 19.3 million followers. And on Facebook, a mere 3.9 million followers, which obviously doesn't look a lot because of the rest of them, but, you know, 3.9 million is still a huge number. So yeah, MrBeast, some big numbers. Scott, tell us about his history, just briefly. Tell us where he started and what we should know straight off the bat.
Yep. So Jimmy Donaldson, which is quite strange to say because I've heard his name once, probably someone say that. It's very weird, but I'm just going to call him MrBeast. So MrBeast started his YouTube channel, which was MrBeast 6000, and that was back in 2012. He was just 13 years old. So his early videos were focused on gaming, and he gained a small but loyal following. However, it was 2017 that he gained mainstream attention for his stunts and challenges. And in fact, the same year was he reached his first 1 million subscribers. So yeah, pretty big for the age that he was at. Yeah, and in the beginning, his early viral videos included challenges, which were reading every word in the dictionary or counting from 0 to 100,000 for 40 straight hours. I mean, you think of content like that now, would you really commit 40 hours of your time to watching videos like that? I don't know. I probably wouldn't. And he done $5,000 for a video, so he asked to double it and said he'd give it away to a homeless person, back and forth. And that was when he was 19 years old. So yeah, had barely any money, and he just gives away like 10k. Like that's mad. I mean, when I was 19, I did not have that kind of money.
Yeah. A couple of things to touch on here. So first of all, just for anyone wondering, because, you know, when I was like, when you start doing a bit of digging, you're like, how did he even come up with the name MrBeast? Because that is such like an iconic thing, and it just suits him down to the ground. Right? Like you said there, it's quite strange, even knowing him for Jimmy Donaldson. But it turns out MrBeast was just, when, I don't know if you were an Xbox guy back in the day, but you asked them to give you a generic gamer tag when you signed up for Xbox Live. And that's what it was. Yeah, it was just MrBeast. They just gave him MrBeast 6000. He was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So then when he started his YouTube channel, it was just like, well, I'm making it primarily on Xbox gaming videos. Yeah, and that was just it. And actually, like, a lot of his content that he started off with was just sort of like the commentary videos that we sort of like have seen a lot of now. People still do them now to this day on Twitch and stuff like that, where they're just playing a game and they're just talking about a subject, and his subject was YouTube. Like, he was completely obsessed. So he would just talk about, people on YouTube, how much money they earn. Like, PewDiePie earned this much this month and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like there on Call of Duty, shooting the place up, whatever. So yeah, it was natural for his gamer tag to be aligned with his channel. And yeah, like you say there, some of the early viral videos he had was just, I don't know, like, would you watch them today? I guess not, probably, but I think there is an element of, like, we've all been there, where you're just sort of maybe finished school,
Yeah.
or, you know, you're studying for something, or you're doing something in your life that's, I guess, your most important thing, and then your downtime, you just don't really know what to do. Like, as a teenager, right? Like, maybe not now as a grown adult. Probably people listening to this podcast don't fall into the category of just, like, sitting around in their boxers, eating popcorn and watching YouTube all day. But I think we can all relate to a point in our life when we were there and we were that person. And, you know, at the time, there wasn't really anything on YouTube that was like, I am going to read the dictionary from front to back, or I'm going to count from 0 to 100,000 for 40 straight hours, or I'm going to, I think another one was, I'm going to play with a fidget spinner for 24 hours, which then got him in the Guinness Book of Records, World Records, whatever. Like, there was no one doing that, because it was just so wild, and there's still no one really doing that, and probably we wouldn't watch it now. But at the time, it was so new, and I think that's what he was really great for, and I think that's what set him apart from everyone else at the time, because everyone else was like, I mean, there was a big element as well, like, YouTube is very new, and it was like, no one really knew where it was going to go.
At that time. Yeah, I think as well, like, it's quite funny to look at it, because we obviously work with a lot of clients that prioritize short form content, and MrBeast is, like, very popular for long form content, like all of his videos. And if you go back to that, like, what was it, 40-hour video of him like counting to 100,000, like, you'd think about that now, like, people's attention span, they would not commit to that. But then again, you look at it in another side of things, is like streaming games and stuff. Like, some people will literally watch a game and stream for 24 hours, 48 hours, and just commit to that. So yeah, it's quite interesting that MrBeast, when you think deep into it, is probably still king in the long form game.
Yeah, but when I did do some digging into his early days, it was like, you know, he made a thing about doing, like, every other day he was just doing a video, and it was just like a random video, kind of like a vlog, but also, like, you know, very much MrBeast style still, you know, like, he had that where he was trying to be funny and all these things. And then that's when, you know, his early videos that went proper viral, that was like the real light bulb moment, if you will. Like, that was when he realized, shit, if I just do crazy things that no one else is doing, that, you know, like, that is sort of like out of the ordinary, that's where people want to see me. So yeah, really interesting. And actually, to touch on this, like, his history, early years where he started as well, he was always into making videos and stuff, and he said he was pretty much an outcast, and he's Crohn's disease. Did you know that?
What?
Crohn's disease, yeah. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
No way.
Yeah. And so he was, like, really big into baseball, and apparently, like, you know, he was, like, obsessed with anything that he does. Like, he's just obsessed. And at the time, in school, growing up, he was just obsessed with baseball. But he was, like, really introverted and didn't like people that much, and he was into videos. And then when he got Crohn's disease, he was basically like, that put him out of action. He couldn't obviously go and play, so then he just sat at home studying YouTube and making videos, and started that way, playing games, etc. So it was like you know, sometimes in life, everyone, like, you know, a little lesson here straight away is, like, sometimes just a negative can actually turn into a positive, depending on what way you spin it. Because that for him was obviously a life-changing moment in itself, and at the time he probably wouldn't have thought that this would have made it, like, you know, amount to something life-changing in a positive manner, but it actually did.
That's quite crazy. I did not know that, and it's mad to think that can't say it completely led to it, but that was a big factor of what led him to be who he is today. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, then to touch on the beginnings even more, he graduated high school, went to college, and in his college dorm, he started doing, you know, wild things. Like, I think one of his videos, he cut through a table with, he basically put on Twitter, he was like, if this gets 100 likes, I will cut through a table with plastic knives. And he literally cut through it. One of his videos is him cutting through a table with plastic knives. It takes him obviously hours. Oh my God.
That went viral. And then, like, you know, so he started earning money and through YouTube and stuff like that. And then he dropped out of college after, like, I don't even know. Don't want to put a day. He didn't make it through a year of college, basically. I don't want to put a time on it. I think it was around 100 days or something. because he started earning from YouTube, and he dropped out of college when he started earning $1,000 a month on YouTube.
Wow.
And he stopped. He was just like, I'm leaving
Just
college.
stopped.
I'm earning $1,000 a month from YouTube. I'm leaving. And he phones up his friend Chris. At the time, he was helping make his videos, and he was like, "Hey, I'm dropping out of college. I'm going to move into my own place. You're coming with me." And Chris is like, "No, I can't. You know, I've got no money." And he's like, "It's okay. I've got you. Like, rent's paid, rent's covered, whatever." And they went and bought this got rent an apartment, like $700 a month, and
That's
it
crazy.
sort of like stemmed from there. And he said himself, like, he just spent every single minute of every single day from when he woke up to when he went to bed making videos, which is
That's
pure
bizarre.
dedication. Wild.
It's crazy hearing like the backstory, like as well.
Yeah.
You look at $1,000 a month in today's like sort of world. You wouldn't think, oh, I could drop out of like college and start my life.
But I think even more to note on that, and that is true, but I think even more to note on that, people look at YouTube and content making in a sense and want the instant reward. And I think it's another lesson that we can all learn straight away. It's like, this takes a huge amount of dedication to get right. Like, you look at someone like MrBeast, and it's very similar to someone like, for American viewers, LeBron James, or someone very similar like Cristiano Ronaldo in like a sports category, or like a singer. Like, they dedicate their life to it, and it's like every single minute of every single day is spent doing that thing. And it's no coincidence then that they get to the top, because they're just very good, and they're better than everyone else because they dedicate. Like, how many 19, 20-year-old kids are going and moving into their friends after dropping out of college, and instead of spending their excess cash on beers and parties and having people round and maybe drugs or whatever the case is, going off the rails because they're young and they don't have any, and they're just dedicating to one thing. Like, a very select few people would actually be able to do that in the first place, which is another interesting sort of thought too.
I mean, he took a big risk, really. Like, I think back in the day, people used to, like, I used to watch YouTube all the time, and no one would have considered YouTube as a job. So, like, to drop out then, like, a lot of YouTubers done it that are big now. They'd, like, drop out of college and they'd be making a couple of £100 to £1,000, like, a month. And obviously, like, it's not a lot of money, but obviously at that age, you're like, wow, this is a lot of money. But yeah, like, it's taking a risk. And I think, I think you'd agree as well that, like, taking a risk in these sort of, like, future endeavors are worth it in the long run. If you're going to take that risk, you commit to it, you put everything into it, and let's say like 90% of the time it works out.
Yeah, I mean, I think can't remember who said it, but I think there is a quote in here somewhere, but it's along with like living. I don't know, it's escaped me.
You love a quote.
There's a famous quote in there somewhere. Oh, that's it. If you risk nothing, you risk everything. No. You know, I'm one for my quotes. But it is true. Like, a massive risk. You know, like, people doing it now sort of know that there's an opportunity, a market for it. Whereas people doing it back then, there was no proof. There was nothing saying that it was going to work out. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was nothing saying that, hey, you could actually become a YouTuber and earn an insane amount of money, become famous, become an effectively a household name if you just commit to this. At that time, there was no one else doing that, and it wasn't a thing. Like, and there was platforms coming and going back then too that would maybe suggest that it was even more risky, because, like, who's to say that YouTube would still be there in a year once he dropped out of college? Is kind of wild. But I think a telling sign here, and I say this to everyone, is that opportunity. Is the opportunity still going to be there, right? So, like, if he dropped out of college, went all in on YouTube, and then YouTube did collapse, and then he was like, shit, well, that's it. You know, there's two things here. Number one, he could go back to college because that opportunity is still going to be there. And number two is that when he's 50, 60, 70, he's not going to look back in his life and regret not doing the thing. He's going to be like, well, at least I did it, right? And I think that's a huge part here. I think when you talk to anyone on their deathbed, it's always a thing of, it's always like a
regret.
Yeah, it's always like a thing that pops up time and time again. It's like, I wish I did that thing. And I think if you think along those lines, you will definitely take more risks and then see more rewards for that. But anyway, yeah, back to the thing. One thing you mentioned there, Scott, and I want to pick up on the 5,000 for a video when he had no money and he gave it away to a homeless person, or he actually doubled it. And I think that was a huge turning point in this whole
10K.
Yeah,
So I think that's quite crazy as well. Like, I think just to link this to MrBeast in general, it's just that everyone that knows of him knows of all the things that he does, and that's what he's pretty famous for, is like out of this world kind of stunts. And like obviously some of the popular videos, is always like, I think one of them was like going through the same drive-through 1,000 times. There's another one I remember, like spending 50 hours buried alive. And then obviously going back to the one you just mentioned, like that was where it started kind of thing, is like gave 10K away at like 19 years old. These kind of like they're such like clickbaity things, right? Like you see that and you're like, well, I want to see that. Obviously it's smart thinking how he developed into that and has grown through all that as well.
Yeah, pure, like I say, pure light bulb moment when he started doing the crazy stunts, like counting from 0 to 100,000. Like before that, he wasn't doing anything of the sorts, and no one was. And then he done that, and then he got loads of views, and then he was like, "Shit, well, if I should keep doing more of this, then it's gonna work out." But yeah, really interesting. Again, the psychology behind that. We spoke about that not many young people would leave college. I mean, a lot of young people leave college, but what I mean here, not many young people would leave college, get their own place, have their friend income stay, pay for his rent, but instead of drinking and going crazy and throwing parties, he just like dedicated his whole life to doing one thing really well. Another psychological trait here is that, like, a really strange thing that not a lot of people would do, and it's probably like even in the 1% or even less, like 0.1% of people, I believe, in the world that having zero money, like zero, nothing, like you're essentially broke, you're just living paycheck to paycheck from YouTube, like you need to pay rent, you're paying for your friend as well, by the way, like you're responsible for his well-being and actually survival. And then someone comes to you and it's like, hey, I want to give you $5,000 for a brand video, and then he turned it down. He was like, no, I want 10K. And like he had never had a brand deal at all. He was on the phone and he was like, oh no, I want double it. And he's like, okay, no, we can't do that. We're giving you 5K. And he's like, okay, I'll give me 10K and this video will go viral. And he's like, I can only give you 5K. And he's like, give me 10K. And it went back and forth for days, for weeks. And then eventually they agreed to give him 10K because he was like, not because he wanted the money, because he was just going to give it to a homeless person. And that is what, again, is wild, because so many people would just be like, oh my God, I've given this brand deal, it's 5K, I'm going to use X amount of it, but instead I'm going to keep like half of it at least for myself, like, and that's going to pay for the rent for the next 2 months, that's guaranteed. Like, so many people think so small. And he, again, only a very select few, I genuinely believe, that would have actually done that in that moment. And even now, knowing full well that this works, even now a lot of people would struggle to commit to that. Like, he literally said no to the 5K, took the 10K, didn't take a penny of it, put it all in a bag. I don't know if you've seen the video, Scott. Phones up Chris and says, hey, you're going to have to come film this. Gave him no instruction, just like, I'm going to that homeless guy over there and I'm going to give him the money. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, cool, film. And he just walks up to him and he's like, yeah, I'm giving you this. And you can see how nervous he was as well. He's like shaking and he can barely speak his words, and he's like, there's 10,000 in this bag, here you go. And the guy obviously breaks down, starts crying, like he's begging on the street, you know. And then they have like a really touching moment after, where he gets in the car and he's like crying, and they go for some food and stuff like that, but ultimately changes his life, hopefully. And yeah, again, not a lot of people would do that, and it's a testament to the person that he is.
He's quite he has quite a good mindset, I would say, for doing what he does, which is like creating content. Like, and obviously you go back to him obviously taking that money and just giving it to a homeless person. He knows the long-term like goal for him, and he knows that by getting there, that would be more beneficial than taking like part of that money. And I think it helps as well, because I think you can see in his videos that he cares a lot. I mean, there was I got here, I've done a bit of research, and in an interview last year, he revealed that he sometimes spends 4 to 5 million on a video in 1 month. And he said that, but that's no problem. He admits he doesn't care about money. He just wants to be a YouTuber. His main goal is to make the best videos possible. And I think that shows in that very video that you're mentioning, is that he's like, mindset is, I want to create the best content for people to enjoy. And I think when you have that kind of mindset, you can achieve much more than looking at it in the term of like, right, well, I need to be seeing some kind of big return for doing a video like this. Like his thing was, he done that video, and then looking back at it from today, like that had been like a very minimalistic thing in his growth.
I agree. And you hear him say that a lot. Like, the reason that he started it, he's just like, I just love helping people. And I wanted to actually get your thoughts. So his quote is, I just love helping people. From a selfish standpoint, it makes me happy. So that's why he does it. So to, again, break that down and think about it even more. Why do you do the videos? Why do you give away so much money? I just love helping people. But from a selfish standpoint, it makes me happy. I want to get your thoughts on that first of all. Like, do you genuinely believe that?
Yeah, I think it is possible for certain people. I think, yeah, it's a tough one, because it can be seen in two different ways. A lot of like people that aren't in his position could look at it and be like, well, you would say that because you're earning a shit ton of money, you're living a great life, and now you're just coming out saying, oh yeah, I just love helping people. Whereas I think there is genuine people out there, and I do know like someone very close to me that is very much the same. They just genuinely are happy just to help people, to give to people. Yeah, I do believe in that statement. I think you can tell by his characteristic, and I know I don't know him personally. Like, he might be different off camera, but in interviews, in like people that have filmed him in the streets, and obviously his videos mainly, I just think he definitely does come across as someone that has that genuine care for what he does, and yeah, just him as a person.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put you on the spot there and get your thoughts on it. And I agree. I know people who just genuinely love helping people too. You know, my mum is one of those people. She just like, I used to go crazy at her sometimes growing up. Like, she'd be working like 2-3 jobs, and she'd just go and like help people constantly. I'm like, Mum, like, there some people just like to take as well, and it's like,
yeah.
But she's like, yeah, but
sad truth.
It's some time out of my day, and I can help someone, and I do agree with that. But I don't know, when you look at it and like break it down, when you really deep it, like we spoke about there, no one was really doing this at the time. So for him to have the mindset of like, well, I'm just going to go and give this $10,000 to the guy here on the street because I just love helping people. Some people would look at that and go, yeah, but it's going to make you go viral, so then you're going to earn from XYZ. So you're helping yourself as well. But I think at the time, no one was doing it, and it wasn't proven. Like, if he's seen that before the whole world, then he's even smarter than anyone is going to give him credit for ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the case. With that said, though, yeah, I think he is smart. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there is an element of, he knew in a way that if he does do that, it's going to have that shock value, and it is going to propel his career. But I do think that he likes helping people. Like, I don't think, if he...
I also agree. Like, he done that, is it this, at the start of the year, he done that video about like healing the blind. I mean, he didn't heal the blind. I think that's just how, like, obviously media put it out there. But it was like he sponsored people's like cataract surgeries to help them see clearly again. Yeah, and he's been doing that for like years as well. Like, he does very similar kind of videos like that. And that, it's great because it helps like views, like his channel grow. But yeah, I just think that, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, what's he gaining out of like helping these people with cataracts? So I know, like, obviously his gain has shown views and followers and stuff, but like, there's YouTubers that get views and followers without doing that kind of stuff. That's kind of where I see the point in him being a genuine person, I guess.
Yeah, but you've had these people all through history, though. You know, you've got Robin Hoods of this world, and you know, steal from the rich, give to the poor. And in a sense, he's sort of doing that. You know, like when he started doing the brand deals, they all came from very big, not at the time, but now they're coming from very big, rich brands. So he's probably like, you know, take your money that otherwise would go to probably pay tax and, you know, whatever the case is, and I'm just going to give it to poor people that can't afford to do this. And, you know, like there is people like that in the world, and it's good that he's doing it in that way, and it's not like used in another sense. Yeah, really interesting subjects and talking points. I think the biggest thing here is we know, and we've said this a ton of times on the podcast, that if you do genuinely want to help someone, especially on social media, you will often do quite well. But I think now, though, we're seeing a huge trend in people doing it just to get their own validation and just to get their own, like I even saw some TikTok yesterday where it was a guy put his wallet on the floor. Some old guy comes into the coffee shop and then says, "Hey, you dropped your wallet, mate." And then he's like, "Cool." And then, you know, it's a hidden camera. And then, you know, the next clip is he goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, I was just doing a social experiment, testing people, and here I'm paying for your lunch." Yeah. And he's just like trying to make out that he's this great guy. And it's like, or like you're going and you're like giving people money just in the street, or like you're helping someone, or like you're going and having a conversation with a homeless person for your own content, and you're giving them like 20 quid or whatever it is. Or I don't know how I feel about it.
It's hard to break through this like barrier at the moment in this generation, is like who is genuine and who is like putting it out there to gain for themselves.
For sure. And I think there is a fine line. Like, are they doing that off camera? Do you know what I mean? Like, are they doing donating to charities? Are they going and helping other homeless people? Are they doing like, and I'm not saying, I've got no problem with you if you're not. Like, that's okay. But I think the problem comes with, like, if that's your whole brand, if that's your whole thing, and you're only doing it when you're making content to get views for yourself, that becomes a problem for me. I feel like we've wandered off topic a little bit here. And that's okay. You know, that's what we're here for in the podcast, to discuss all of these things. I think any business go on. I was going to wander off topic even more, so it's fine.
I'll bring you back. Reel you back in.
Scott. Cheers.
One of the things that I was like really thinking about, like in preparation for this podcast, is like how big his team must be. Because, like, obviously, I know that, like, he has building the thumbnails, people editing, people running socials, merchandise, like websites, all them kind of things. And I think I read somewhere before that he spends like at least 10,000 on like each thumbnail that he makes. So like his team must be big, right? So he must have like a couple of people on different like stations, I guess you can say. And I just want to like, it'd be mad to think how big the whole MrBeast team is and how much is put into the team as well, for running all this pretty much. Because obviously like it always starts from that one person, and then obviously you bring in the team. So yeah, what do you think, like the size of the team and how much goes into the team? Because I think it's an important thing, like having that team, because obviously him doing it on his own, he probably wouldn't be where he was right now. Obviously still probably would be on a good level, but just not as big scale. But yeah, I think that's like an important thing for people in these positions, is having that big team and investing into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think an old saying was, for every good man, there's a good woman, or something. I know that's very like old school, like, because now there are a lot of good, for every good woman, there's a good man. But yeah, it's a well-known thing, right? You're only as good as your team, whatever it is. And yeah, he's had, you know, a huge amount of like great people around him, you know, like Chris, who we mentioned, and maybe we will mention more in this podcast, I don't know. But you know, he openly said that when he started making videos, he was really awkward, he was shy. MrBeast, this is like Jimmy, he was like really shy and he wasn't great on camera. And then Chris came in and he was great on camera, like he was a complete opposite. He was like more enthusiastic and more, and then he got the confidence from him, and then, you know, that's when that started. And then, you know, after a couple of these brand deals back and forth, he then got a manager to manage it and explain business terms. And I know at the time, a lot of the business actually was just, we get 100 grand for brand deals and we're just going to spend 100 grand on videos. Like, that's how the business worked. It was just, there was no profit. There was no like,
Yeah.
I don't know how he was paying the manager. I mean, he must have been taking some percentage of the ad revenue or something, but if they got 100 grand from a brand deal, they would spend 100 grand on the next video. And that's how it went for months and months, you know. But now, like you say, they've got so many other things. And yeah, you've got to have a great team. I think every business is only going to be as good as their team. It's something we talk about here a lot. And I actually had a call yesterday. I could catch up with one of our first ever clients that we accrued here. And, you know, I was just talking about stuff. And I was like, look, we've been super busy over the last couple of months, but we've came through it because of how good our team is. And I've got everything to sort of like be thankful for our team. And it's something that we've been really passionate about building. And I'm really thankful personally that we have got a great team. And I don't know what business could sort of like succeed without that. But there must be, to answer your question directly, there must be thousands. There must be thousands. Like, he's even, because they have multiple channels now as well. They've got the gaming one. They've got, you know, obviously the big one. They've got, I think he's even got a Reacts one, if I'm not mistaken. He's got MrBeast Burger as well, which is a brand. They've got the merch. They've got, they've even got the channels, the videos in different languages now too. I think I don't know if you've seen this, but they launched all the videos in Spanish last year, and they got the same dubbing guy that does Spider-Man. I don't know if you've seen that.
No way.
All the comments are like, what MrBeast is Spider-Man? They were so confused because the same guy that does the Spanish voiceover for Spider-Man does the Spanish voiceover for MrBeast, and everyone was so confused for such a long period of time. Like, oh my god, it all makes sense. MrBeast is Spider-Man. So yeah, I mean, the pool.
I knew it.
Yeah, exactly. The team has got to be huge. But yeah, I want to touch on that thumbnail thing. And we might as well do it now instead of keep putting it off. I always say that in the podcast. I will talk about that in a bit, and we'll touch on that subject. Anyone listening, the amount of attention to detail that goes into even just making a thumbnail, something so simple, something that someone would look at and go, oh, we made the video, that's the creative, let's put it out. Oh, what thumbnail should I make? It doesn't matter. Like, the amount of time and effort and energy and money that they spend on thumbnails is unfathomable. Like, you can't even comprehend the amount of time and effort and energy that goes into that. I don't really know a point, just something to think about. Like, they were making tens of hundreds of thumbnails for every video, I think, at one point.
Yeah, like the MrBeast thumbnail talk has been like a really big thing in the like recent years. Obviously he done that. I don't know if it was like a podcast or some kind of interview where he said about thumbnails and how they are very key in getting the viewers. And I think not everyone, but like ourselves in like the industry we're in, we know how important a thumbnail can be. And I think like it's very key to keep that in mind. Like, as a content creator, business brand, like a thumbnail could really like have impact on whether you get that click-through rate. But yeah, it is like really interesting. I've read into it quite a lot recently actually about how well thumbnails can do, and I've been looking at MrBeast thumbnails, and there's just a lot about it, and it's not even that it's like in depth, like, because some of them they're really cool because he does like his head like really big popping out like a plane or something like that, and they work like really well, but just like the whole look of it. And it's like, when I used to do YouTube like videos or vlogs, things like that, I used to have zero knowledge on how important a thumbnail was, and I would just probably put like a little screenshot, or like it would be like just a picture that I took in that day sort of thing, and then put like some really low shitty quality like text on it with a terrible title. And I always wondered why I wasn't getting views.
We've all been there, Scott.
Yeah, like, I guess it's like a stage to go through to get to a better place.
For sure.
But yeah, MrBeast, like, I realised in, I think all of them, maybe just the majority, he doesn't add text to his thumbnails. It's just like him, and obviously whoever does the thumbnails makes his like image pop a lot, and they make it glow. And then obviously the image with it is very like poppy and like colourful. But yeah, I've never really seen like much text on it, if any.
Yeah,
for many of these
they keep it to
thumbnails.
like I think one of his rules is like if they do text, it's like they keep it to I think 5 words tops.
Yeah, that's quite smart, really.
Well,
Nobody
it is
really wants to
smart.
be reading, because we say this a lot as well. We've been designing thumbnails for some of our clients recently, and one thing that you said that like actually changed my thinking of it is when back again when I was doing like YouTube videos, putting text on the video, is that when it comes up as a thumbnail on like your laptop or PC, it's quite small anyway. When you go on your phone, it's even smaller. So having text on there is pretty pointless, unless if it's like you said, like between 0 to 5 words. Like that's got to be it. And then obviously, I'm praising you up here, Rich. You're like my little guru, really, of where I'm at now. Another good little tactic is to use up space. Like you've said this a lot recently as well, is just use up all that space, and going back to what I just said, to make sure that when you're on your phone or laptop, it stands out that bit more, in a sense.
For sure.
But yeah, MrBeast does thumbnails fantastic, and yeah, it's definitely someone that you should look into when going into this game.
For sure. But I think one thing to touch on there again to anyone listening, like it takes time. Like it's a huge skill. Like some thumbnail is just a really simplistic thing that you might think, oh, it's just a picture on a video, but think of a thumbnail as like your shop window in a sense. And no one's going to come into your shop unless you have an attractive shop window, something that's going to make them be like, oh, that looks cool, I'm going to go in there. And the thumbnail is exactly the same on YouTube. It acts as the shop window, if you like. And the thing is, you're competing in a place similar to Oxford Street or downtown Manhattan, or, you know, think of any like huge, where there's a lot of competition. You know, you're not in a small village. Like YouTube is a giant place. I think there's, I don't know, I want to say like, there's a lot of videos. I was going to say a number, but it escapes me. Being uploaded even every hour. And you're competing with all of those. And so, you have to be like quite out there. But what I see a lot of, and just final point in the thumbnails before we move on, it's like people put too much effort into thumbnails and complicate them, whereas MrBeast does so well, I believe, in just keeping it simple, but it's simply great. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not it's not simply shit. It's simply unbelievably amazing. And I think the biggest hardest thing for a thumbnail is, like, you would look at a MrBeast thumbnail and go, oh, that's relatively easy because it is simple. But try and come up with that concept, try and put that then into the creative. It's way harder than you think it is. So it takes a lot of time, and it could be a massive factor in why you're not getting views in the first place. Hence why he's putting so much effort into it. But yeah, to touch on a couple of other things that he's like, because I guess that's what he would be famous for. You know, a lot of businesses and stuff like study this from MrBeast. But I think that just overall sums up his attention to detail. And what I've sort of found with MrBeast, it's like he just elevated the whole YouTube game. And there's a lot of imitators, but no one can do it as good as him. And again, to put it in sporting terms, he's got the money now in the back end, so he just overpowers everyone, because whatever idea you come up with or whatever thing you're going to do on YouTube, MrBeast is going to do it better. And in sporting terms, we can talk about the Man Cities of this world, or maybe not so much American sports because they're heavily drafted and they've got a different system, but for European sports, football in particular, you've just got the richest clubs that tend to get the best players because they can outspend the smaller clubs. So whenever you get a talent, they just go and they buy it. And it's a similar thing here that we've seen with YouTube, actually, if you look at it in that sense, is that any big idea or anything that needs doing, or if anyone comes up with an idea and it could be like this crazy cool thing, MrBeast is just going to do it on a million and one different level to you, because he's just got you just get the financial firepower. Like even Squid Games, that fucking, I don't know if you watched that video, Scott, but it was unbelievable. Like, so I watched Squid Games. Great show, unbelievable. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I didn't watch the show. I saw clips of the show, but I watched a video of what he done. Yeah, says a lot. Well, I watched his video over the show.
Yeah. Well, my question was going to be, did you watch the dub version or the subtitle version? But I guess it doesn't matter now. But so he made that video, and it was just like you say, it was almost better than the show. It was just unbelievable. Like, think about it, it's a YouTuber, it's just one guy. Well, it's not, as we discussed, it's a team and stuff, but in a sense, it's just one guy. And it was crazy. Like, it was unreal, and that blew me away. And it was funny. I was actually making YouTube videos, I mean, very shamefully, like vlogs and stuff like that. And when he made that video, that was, if you actually look at it, I think you'll see that that was the day probably that I finished. Because I was like, there's no point. Like, you can't compete with that. Like, what's the point? You know, it was a sad realization of, like, you're never going to be able to compete with that. And some people would look at that negatively and whatever, but it's like, it's true. Like, because the budget, the idea, like, anyone could have had the idea, oh, I would love to remake Squid Games, but it would be never on that level. Yeah.
It's hard competition, I'd say.
For sure.
Unfortunately, I do not have like 500 million to give away.
Well, this is the thing. He has literally gave away millions, like, consistently over the last couple of years. He's given away millions of dollars, which is, like, we sit here in this podcast, it's like, you know, that's cool. But, like, think about that, like, in cash, like $1 million to just someone, just for a video, like, not even, like, it's just for entertainment purposes. It's like, again, think back at, like, the game shows back in the day, like mainstream TV, and that's essentially what it is. It's like, you know, people would go on there and there'd be like a quiz, or there'd be something on Saturday night TV,
a chance to win money.
Yeah, like catchdphrase or something like that, and it's like you build up your bank, whatever, and, you know, then he does that. But it's not like, he could have easily just taken that idea and done it on YouTube, but he was like, last one to take their hand off the Lamborghini wins it. And it's 3 days worth of, like, just sitting there with their hand, and they're just going and interviewing people. And that might sound like a boring idea, but it's really entertaining. And
it's quite, what you just said there is very important. It can seem like a boring idea, but could be entertaining. That is a great, like, thing to take away from this, is that sometimes, like, I used to do it, I'd come up with ideas for, like, videos and stuff like that, and I'd write it down, or like my TikTok videos. You've seen my TikTok videos, me wearing a wig, things like that. And I'd write these ideas down. I'd be like, oh, on paper, this just looks shit. Yeah. And then once the video's made, like, I done it. Like, I delete the videos now, because I was like, I need to rebrand myself away from these videos. But I put this idea down on my notes, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a shit video. Nobody's gonna like this. It's gonna probably get really bad feedback. And the video was made, I put it together, and I was like, this is actually a really, like, funny, decent video. Put it out there, and I can't remember exactly, but I got over like 100k views, and I was like, oh, all right then. But, like, it just shows you that sometimes, like, an idea can seem really bad on it. For example, the MrBeast, like, I really love the videos. The one he done, I can't remember when it was, like, the YouTubers putting their hands on the plane, and the last one to take their hands off, like, wins the plane. Like, that's bizarre. But on paper, you'd be like, how can we make this entertaining? Like, are people really going to want to sit there and watch people just standing there with their hands on? But it's not, because it's the entertainment that comes with it. People trying to put each other off, people trying to, like, win that plane. Like, the entertainment just comes naturally with it. So something to take away. Like, sometimes an idea may not seem too great, but that's just on paper. Get it out there in physical form, it could turn out to be a really good idea.
Yeah, I always say it's never the idea, it's the execution. And it's so true, because, like, you can have a great idea but execute it terribly, and it's not going to do, it's no longer a great idea, right? And the same can be said for the opposite. The opposite is also true. You can have a terrible idea but execute it extremely well. And it works out to be awesome. Okay, so I think, you know, we've done Jimmy. Some pretty good service here. Like, we've spoke a lot about, you know, who he is, what he's done. I would like to delve a little bit deeper now into sort of things like learnings, basically. Like, if you know, we're talking about it from a business standpoint, a business point of view, what are sort of things that he does well, and how could we potentially do them for ourselves as a business? And then we'll look at maybe things he doesn't do so well, and things that we can maybe learn from that as well. I hope that makes sense to anyone listening. Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt the episode. I just wanted to say really quick that over the last few months, myself and the team here at 2610 have been working super hard on a book that will no doubt change your entire approach to social media. It's packed full of incredible information and value, and we cannot wait to share it. With that said, we want to reward you, a viewer, a listener to this podcast, by giving it to you completely for free when it becomes available. You really don't want to miss this, so click the link below and we'll be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. I'll let you start off, Scott. What do you think he does well, / what do you think are things that we can learn from Jimmy? Potentially, you know, if someone is out there like looking at starting content, or has started content, making content around their brand, business, whatever. Yeah, what would you say?
I mean, we touched a little bit on this earlier, but his character is a massive thing. I think he has a certain way of connecting with his audience, which is why he has so many subscribers, followers, fans, I guess you can say. But he really does well at making it a community, like the MrBeast community. Going back to, you mentioned earlier, the MrBeast burgers. I don't know if you see it. He done a video of when he first opened it in the mall, and he just put it out there and just invited everyone. And in the video, like he does like a kind of like a vlog style of the day, and like his manager's saying like we can't be like doing photos with people, we haven't got time, we're on a very strict time limit here. And he like goes out, he's taking pictures, and he's like just doing anything to interact with the community that has come out, because at the end of the day, that community is what has made him what he is today. And I think he does really well in that. And I think a lot of businesses, brands, and YouTubers, I guess you can say, they struggle in that department because they're so like obviously caught up in the business, I guess, that they don't take a moment to step back and appreciate the community that has built them. And I think that plays a massive part in success sometimes, just having that community and giving back to them. That's from my point of view anyway. I feel like the human connection.
Yeah, I agree. So what could our business say? I'm just going to put a little situation out there to you then now. So you said about MrBeast Burgers. So say we've got Joe, and he's got Average Joe's Burgers. That's the name of the place. And he's set up his little restaurant thing, or he's setting it up. It's about to launch in London. He's got a bit of a following, I guess. Like, you know, it's just like friends, family, people like that. What could he do? How could he implement that sort of same style to what MrBeast does, and create a bit of a wave, create some noise around the launch?
Okay, I think obviously using social media is the key in today's age, and I think if he's opening up a restaurant, he's got to put it out there. Opening day, would you say Average Joe's Burgers, right? So he's doing burgers. The first 100 people in the queue are going to get a free burger, and then the next 100 will get 50% off, and then obviously that should create a load of people just flooding like the street for the queue. Obviously if he's got a following as well, people are like, I want to be there for the launch and I want a free burger. And yeah, if he like documents that, like you could do it exactly the same as what MrBeast done, like an opening day launch. The vlog style thing is just perfect. It's like it could be him, like Average Joe, just inside the restaurant, getting set up. And then, like, obviously, like, it could just be very cinematic style of, like, people start flooding the streets, turning up, and then he comes out on the street with, like, the first ever burger giveaway, and then just, like, puts it in there, like everyone scream, who wants the first free burger? Everyone's like, yeah, and then, like, the first 100 people come forward, and it would just be a madness. Like, it would be an unreal, like, video, and then that connects to the community, because people love seeing that, because the energy's in the video. He's giving back to the community, because that community is what's like creating his business. Like, it's such an important aspect of success, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Some things to touch on there, and you know, people would look at that and go, well, MrBeast has got the followers, he's going to put it out on social media, loads of people are going to turn up. But if you can give something value for free, people will always turn up, and you've got to think about how you can do that. Maybe you don't have a following, but you could run an ad, put something out there, like a little Instagram post, whatever, or you could just go around the streets of London, similar, in a similar location to where you're going to eventually do the thing, and just be like, hey, or big poster like opening day, a month before, this is what's going to take place, turn up, get a free burger if you're first in the line, whatever. And I think that's really good. And then you could go up to people, interview them, like, how's the burger taste, like, blah blah blah. People fighting to get, in MrBeast style, you could be like, I don't know, like maybe last to leave gets free burgers for life or something, right? Like, last to leave the seat, and is someone sat there going, oh, I really need a toilet, but I can't leave because, whatever the case is. So yeah, like you could do loads of that, and I think you can definitely, there's always ways, and I think that's a great idea. But I think there are things to touch on and to delve into even further is reinvestment. We're talking there about average Joe, and he'll be sat there and he'll be going, oh shit, man, well, this is a good idea, guys, but I don't have the funding to make this possible. And what we've seen from MrBeast, something to really learn, is that he's just he wasn't interested in having the fancy house, the fancy car. I think even now he doesn't have, anything fancy necessarily. He's not a flashy guy. He's not living his best life in terms of, he is. There's a lot of people that would look at him. He's insanely privileged, right? Don't get me wrong. But there is an element too of like people would look at him and go, why isn't he got a Lamborghini? Why doesn't he have multiple sports cars, have a big house in the hills, and stuff like that? Like he's not interested. He's only interested in building his thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong from a business standpoint. They want their slice of the pie way too early. They're not willing to play the long game. They start to see profits and they're like, okay, I'm now going to go and get this holiday to the Maldives. I'm now going to get the sports car. I'm now going to get the swanky apartment. I'm now going to get this. I'm now going to do that. I'm now going to spend it on this. Whereas MrBeast has literally just reinvested over the last 8-9 years, every single dollar he could back into the business. So whatever he earned, again, $100,000 brand deal, $1 million brand deal, boom, that's going straight onto a video. He'd done it time and time again, didn't care about earning. I think he said that for 4 or 5 years he didn't earn barely a penny because every single bit of money that he made just went back into reinvestment. And to talk to average Joe, my answer would be, okay, well, if you want to make this a success, like a proper success. And it's funny, I had this conversation, I won't name any names, last night. We were just talking about it, we get a bit deep, and I was like, okay, but that's above average, and maybe average Joe is average. See how it's all coming back round. Coincidentally, I did not plan this, but maybe average Joe was happy with being average. And actually, MrBeast was never happy with being average. He wanted to be the best. And we spoke about LeBron, we spoke about Ronaldo, we spoke about all these people earlier. These guys don't accept mediocrity. And average Joe, you've got to ask yourself, okay, cool, that's fine. Don't do that. But you will just be average Joe's burgers. Whereas you could do this, reinvest the money back in for a year, everything that you make nothing, go move out your apartment in London, go and stay in, go house share, flat share, do something else. And in a year's time then, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, look at yourself then and see where your business is at. I think that would be my biggest message is like, don't be afraid to really reinvest and like forget about the money for a moment and think about big picture type stuff and try to push yourself to be bigger than average Joe.
Bigger than average Joe.
Yeah. I think we've touched on a good few points there. My final point, things he does really well, is just the overall hunger he has. It's just insane. Like we spoke about just a moment ago, and it's something that cannot be taken away from him. Like his attention to detail, his overall hunger to be the best and to, be number one. Like it wasn't like, don't forget when he was starting, he was making videos commentating on gaming videos about people like PewDiePie, who had millions. He was number one YouTuber. He had millions of subscribers, like millions, right? MrBeast at the time is a couple of thousand, and he's making videos about this person who essentially it's like a godlike figure that he's looking at. It's like, wow, like, it's like, oh my God. And now he's overtaken it. He just wants to overtake everyone, be number one, be the best. And I think that's a really strong message. I think when people start businesses, especially from a content point of view, it's just like, again, it's just like average goals, It's like, and you're always going to have average results, unfortunately. like if that's your mindset. And I think one
Yep.
thing we could really learn from MrBeast is the mindset is just elite.
Yeah, 100%. I think touching on that last little bits that you said there, like we're talking about MrBeast today in a whole podcast dedicated to him and looking at the things that he does and what we could implement in our business. And if you, I don't know, if you had told him maybe like 10 to 15 years ago that people would be looking at you and thinking, oh, I'm going to use you as a guide on how to be successful with my like business or brand, he probably would have laughed. But he is going to be one of those guys that is the Messi of football, the Ronaldo of football. Like he will be one of those guys because people will break down his content as we have today and learn from him and grow their business or brand that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that all comes down to though just loving what he does. Like I think that's a huge lesson that we can learn. Like we speak about it a lot here again. There's so many people in business to make money, and that's completely fine. But sometimes, and I say this to a lot of clients, potential clients, when we get on a call for the first time, and maybe last time, a lot of the time, and it's like, what's your goal with this? And it's like, just make more sales. But at the start of that call, they're saying that they want to make this entertaining content and stuff like that. And it's kind of like a cross of wires, you know, it's like, you can't, it's not saying that you can't do one without the other, but I think there is an element to it where it's like, MrBeast making content because he wants to entertain people, give back, help people, all these things. He's never really thinking about, probably, maybe not in that moment, about like how many, I mean, maybe he is, but like he's not really thinking about the financial impact of what that's going to have.
That come with it as he grew.
Mm.
It wasn't what he looked at from the drawing board, I guess you can say. It wasn't like, right, so I'm going to make a YouTube channel. And in the next 5 years, I expect to drop out of college, make this much money, and have this many followers. He went with what he enjoyed doing, and he followed that, and he's seen the results through that mindset.
Yeah, and I think that's a telling thing, and I think maybe any business listening to this now is, you know, we're always trying to like help you guys. Like if you don't enjoy making content, that's okay. Do I say to you, don't make content? No, because that is, in my opinion, the most important part in the world that we live in right now is to make content. Like we're living in a time now where the biggest brands in the world, no matter how you want to spin it, no matter how you want to look at it, are all attention based. Like attention is the new oil. And like, you know, we had old companies, all of the most successful sort of companies of the last 200 years, 100 years, whatever, leading up to the last decade, were all oil. Like it was from power, right? It was just like all energy supplies. That was the most sort of the biggest aspect. Like that was like the most what's the word I'm looking for here? Like that was the biggest thing, right? Whereas now the biggest thing, the most valuable thing, there we go, valuable. So oil, energy was the most valuable thing we had in human sort of size. Whereas now people are looking at it and going, the most valuable thing that we have currently is attention. People's attention is how do we get their attention. So the biggest brands in the world right now, Microsoft, Apple, all of these things, it's all attention based. Google, right? Like it's all attention based. And so when you're really thinking about making content, whether you like it or not, it's so important that you do it because it's important you get people's attention. If you can buy their attention, you're going to do well. You're going to succeed. It's a fact. Yeah. So if you don't love doing that, that's okay. But it's not going to work for you if you do it and you don't love it because people can see through it and it's not going to be sustainable. So any business brand, listen right now, hire us because we love doing it. I'm kidding. No, like get someone but genuinely like get someone that loves doing it. And you know, I've seen it so many times. We looked at a cereal brand, you know, a few months ago, Scott, I remember, and there was a guy running their socials and it was insane. Like the videos were unbelievable. And it because this guy just loved making videos and he was making it about such a boring thing, cereal. But it was great to watch because he loved making videos. And I think that's a really important aspect here.
100%.
Anything else that we can learn from? We spoke about taking risks earlier.
Yeah. So, like there's like a two-way thing here, like two lessons, I guess, which is taking risks and embracing failure. So the taking risks, we say this quite a lot, is to like push yourself out there. If you're a business or a brand, like take that risk, like what MrBeast done. Like he took the risk of giving away like it couldn't have worked. Like you never know. Like he could have like done this video, give away like a ton of money, got like 2 views, and like it could have been a complete like failure. But he took that risk. It worked out, and in the long run, it has worked out incredible for him. So yeah, it's quite a linked one there of taking that risk. Like create content that you think, like we say this quite a lot. With like when we're editing for videos, like I've messaged you a couple of times and sent you a video and been like, oh, do you think this will work? It's quite controversial, and I'm a very controversial guy. I love watching videos like that, but obviously we always have to put the client first and make sure that it is best for their brand or business. But yeah, like sometimes that is a risk that you take that can, like there'll be videos out there that you've got a bit of controversy there, and sometimes the comments are very just debated. But again, like the views are going up and up, and the comments are going up and up. Is getting shares, is getting engagement. You've like attracted a whole new audience, and you've done that by taking that little risk of putting an edgy video out that has worked. So obviously that's the taking risk side, which links to the failure. Like sometimes it doesn't always work, but you learn from those failures, and then that's how you grow. You don't just give up. Like if, for example, again, going back to like the controversial videos, you put a controversial video out, it doesn't work, you don't get many views, or you get a fair few views and like you just get absolutely rinsed online. You don't just give up, you don't quit and be like, okay, so we're gonna have to shut down the business because we've had a video that just didn't go well or it didn't get many views. Is that you learn from that, and then you know from, like we say it all the time, we learn from our mistakes and we grow better from that.
Yeah, I think what you're saying here is like embracing failure almost. Like a lot of people look at failure as a negative.
Yeah,
and I think
yeah. I think sorry, just to interrupt you there. I think
no, you're good.
I've seen it a lot with friends that have like tried to do like startup businesses, and like things don't work out exactly how they expected them to or planned to, and they'll just like, you'll catch up with them like a few months down the line or a year down the line. Be like, oh, like how's the business going? Yeah, we gave up with that. Oh, like why did you give up? Well, because the plan that we had, it just didn't go well. And he'll be like, yeah, but you was only doing it for a couple of months. Like one of my close friends, like he's just started a new job and he's trying to get back on track financially. And again, that's is not linked in the business side of things, but like everything takes time to get to that success. Like I say to him all the time, I'm like, you're probably not going to see a financial benefit for another 6 months at least. But you just got to give it time, and you can't give up. And it comes back to businesses and brands. Like it happens so often that people will see that failure and that's it, rather than embrace that failure and learn from it, and then you grow in that way.
Yeah, I'm big on my sayings today, Scott. You're going to laugh at me here, but I used to have a mantra. I mean, I still use it quite a lot, but it used to be like my daily mantra, and it was, you never lose, you learn. And yeah, it's such a thing here. Like if you put out a bit of content, MrBeast the same. Like you put out a bit of content, just because it might not get the views that you think, like learn from it. Like I see so many people, it's either they just then give up, or it's like, oh, I can't do that again. Maybe it's not the right way to go. It's like, learn from that thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It means maybe you just executed, especially now in the TikTok world, you might have just executed like 1 second in that hook, or like 1 second in, after 10 seconds wrong. Like that's all it is. And it just, a tiny little tweak could then just trigger it, and then boom, the idea works, the execution works, and everything just goes from there. Or maybe you just put it out at the wrong time, or maybe there's nothing wrong with it at all and it was just unlucky. Like there is so many aspects to it. And I think over time,
don't give up.
Like you said, don't give up, be consistent. That's another thing. He's been consistent for so long. The amount of people that could have just took the bag and gone and retired, and he's continuing now to still make videos, because that's another evidently great point, that he loves what he's doing, because he's still doing it even after all this time. Anything that he does poorly, or anything that he does that we maybe look at and go, he could have done that better.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm like a really big fan of his. But yeah, I guess like a lot of people would say that like his creativity. Obviously, he does a lot of challenges that are similar or the same or like just like redeveloped in a new way. Yeah, and I guess like people would say that he needs to like change it up and not live off of that. But yeah, like I can see two sides of it. But I also go back to some of the stuff that we always say is that you can like recycle content and you can reuse content. You can just give it a new style. But I guess like, yeah, it's not like he's at threat of losing subscribers or followers, let's be honest. But if you're like in a position where he was maybe 10 years ago where he's still growing, I guess that could be a factor, like the creativity side of thing, developing new ideas and refreshing like content, I guess. So that could probably be like one flaw, I guess you can say.
Yeah, yeah, potentially. I mean, of course there's going to be haters out there. Of course there's going to be people saying that a lot of people could do better. And as soon as you become in the public eye, the public spotlight, that just comes naturally.
Yeah,
it
comes
comes
with the
second.
job.
Yeah, exactly. It comes with the job, and so I think that's another thing that he does well. Is like that what's the word, like I don't know. I don't even know. We've been talking for way too long. My words have escaped me. But like that resilience. There we go. That he does really well. Like to actually just continue and not really care about what people think. And I think, I agree. Maybe like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that he could do well. And whilst there's always going to be people saying, "Oh, he could do this," I don't necessarily agree. So I think it would be unfair for me to say. I think if anything though, he's going to maybe have to look at the content that he does create. I think maybe it does come down to creativity a little bit. Like, I think he's done it for such a long period of time that his audience is naturally growing up. And so my point here is he was a trend and he was very fashionable for all like the teenage kids of our time, in the last 10 years. Whereas in another 10 years, 5 years, those people are going to, they're going to go to college, they're going to get jobs, they're going to grow up, and they're not necessarily going to be still interested in that thing. And then the new people coming through.
Would you say it's more like? Sorry, would you say it's more like keeping up with the times as well with content?
I wouldn't even say keeping up with it. I mean, maybe like I'm just looking at it from like a sustainability point of view, like. Because the people coming through aren't, I mean, they probably will because he is that big, but not to the same scale as what he had. Not to the same scale as like, creating these videos and we're just going viral and topping YouTube every time. I think the kids coming through now won't be necessarily as interested in that content. They'll be going watching TikTok instead and stuff like that. So I think he's definitely got to look at that. And I think that's not things that he could have improved in the tech, because everything he's done to this point has worked really well. But I think maybe things that he could improve going forward. And I guess that's a great segue into saying, what do you see the future for MrBeast? That's just a question I want to put at you. How do you see it? Like, where's MrBeast in 10 years' time, 20 years' time? Like, how do you see things panning out for you? Is he going to be a billionaire? I think that's a more direct question.
That's more direct. Yes, he will be. I could just see him, like, branching out onto more. Like it wouldn't even I wouldn't put it past him that he probably has his own like production team making movies, something like that, something really bizarre. I mean, let's say that we've spoke about MrBeast Burgers. That's probably like his first like proper like side franchise thing. Like what's next? Like he'll like be developing. He'll be working with like Elon Musk next, and I don't know, developing the MrBeast car. Like I can. It sounds bizarre, but I can just see something like that happening. I don't think that in 10 years' time he will be a thing of the past. No way. I think he will still be big. I think maybe bigger. Like I said, I'm quite a fan of his. The content he makes like really attracts me. It attracts like I've got like so many different kinds of friends, and it's funny because if I spoke to any one of them, they would have watched MrBeast, whether that be like a fan of his or just seen some videos. I think like 10 years time, billionaire, another like 2 different franchises of MrBeast, and maybe working with Elon Musk, having his own MrBeast car.
Yeah, MrBeast car, MrBeast rocket or something. Yeah, no, I see that. I think he's 100% going to be a billionaire, no question. Like zero doubt in my mind that he will become a billionaire. I don't know what the future lies for him. I don't know where he sits. I think we don't know what's going to happen with content. Like, let's be honest. I think there's a huge thing about TikTok potentially dying off and being, not even dying off, just being executed by some governments around the world. And I don't know if that's going to happen. No one does. It could be just a smoke screen. But I think there is also an element of like, if that happens, then the attention will turn back to YouTube. And I think YouTube is still obviously a massive, massive platform. So it's not going anywhere. Owned by Google, probably one of the most, biggest companies in the world. And so, I think he's only going to grow. And one thing I wanted to touch on, there's obviously a lot of controversy, and we won't go into huge depths on this. But his right-hand man, Chris, who we mentioned earlier in the sort of episodes, is so he's just recently come out as like transgender. And again, this is like a something that probably we shouldn't delve too much into because it's not really our place to say. But I think there is an element of like, it's just strange because there's so many aspects to what could be his downfall, MrBeast, that you wouldn't even realise. Now, please take what I'm saying here with an open mind. I'm not saying that his best friend turning transgender is going to be his downfall. What I'm saying here is that no matter how you look at it, no matter how you spin it, it's not an ideal situation for MrBeast. Like, in his world, his team and the people around him, especially the people in the forefront, that are on the camera, remain the same. But like the people who people have grown to like over time and grown to recognize. And I think it puts him in a really difficult spot, because what happens is, no matter how you look at it, viewers will go, well, this isn't the Chris that I like, not because he's transgender, just because it's like, it's no longer Chris, right? It's no longer the same person. Like, no matter how you want to look at it, it's no longer the same person. And so people will stop watching the videos, like, regardless. Then there won't be a huge drop off, but it will be a drop off. Again, no matter how you want to look at it, not through hate or whatever. So then MrBeast has to make a decision. Does he get rid of his best friend because for the sake of the business, or does he let it slide? Does that then maybe come to a downfall? And if he does get rid of him, then there's going to be a huge amount of people cancelling MrBeast for doing so. So then it's just not an ideal thing. And what I mean here about this whole thing, and I'm trying to be like really sort of like non-controversial on the topic without giving my actual opinion. I just think it's, whilst talking about his future, we have to touch on this, because it's things that happen within a business that you don't necessarily expect, and it's something that could, we're sitting here going, he'll become a billionaire and he'll do all these things, but there's actually a lot of things out with his control that can happen along the time of trying to get to that stage that might force a different result than we expect.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. It's a complete different world that we live in from what we grew up in. Things have changed a lot. Obviously I won't go into those side of things, but anything like that can affect, I guess, like the face of a brand or business could have huge implications for the future. Whether that's like a positive spin on it, I don't know if it could take a positive spin or if it could take a negative spin. Obviously, again, I'll try not to go too far into it, but him coming out as transgender, obviously the people are still adjusting to this life, and obviously people that have grown up watching MrBeast, probably our sort of age, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger, won't share the same kind of opinions and I guess ways on life. So they could unsubscribe or they could unfollow Yeah, whether that has like an impact on the business or not, it's definitely like a tough one because it's down to him at the end of the day. As his best friend still. Yeah, so it's a very sticky one, I think. But again, you do have to, when it's just like, I don't know, if it was me and you, for example, and like I was a big YouTuber, maybe not on the same scale, but I had like maybe 1 million followers, subscribers, and then like you was on my videos and something like that happened with us, it probably wouldn't affect me at all because I don't have like businesses and stuff. It won't change anything. With him, he's got businesses and obviously like endorsements into the business and his channel. They might not share the same thing and they could pull out. Like, you just don't know.
Exactly.
Obviously, we're just trying to word this in a non-like controversial way, no like opinion on this. But we're looking at more of like a social platform, business brand side of things. And it could have implications, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a great point there about investors and stuff like that, maybe having different views to other people. And it's something that I wanted to bring up because I do think it is something that will have an effect, like you say, good or bad, in the coming weeks and months. Like, I think there's no way that it just, people will look at this
away
and go,
nothing happened.
Exactly, because people will look at it and go, oh, well, it is a modern world, like, being transgender is fine. I'm not saying anything on the subject, either yes or no. I'm just literally saying that it's still a big deal. Like, it's still a huge change. Like, the fact that he's got to come out and say that this is happening, the fact that so many people are reacting that way would prove my point, right? Like, you can sit there and go, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, people can be who they want to be. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's still a big deal, and it's still going to affect, like you say, the business there, no matter how you want to look at it. And it's going to be, like I say, I'm not saying what it will be because I don't know, but something we'll definitely see more of this over the next couple of weeks and months. And it'll be interesting to see how it sort of like takes shape. And like I say, maybe from a selfish point of view, again, don't take this in any way, but like, I do kind of feel sorry for him in a way, like, because it's a difficult thing. I think it could have been handled better from Chris, in my opinion, honestly. I think, what he does in his own life, whatever, but I think to just be like, oh yeah, I'm making this change, and nothing's really different, and I'm still going to be in I'm still turning up tomorrow for work. It puts him in a difficult position, I think. Not to speak on behalf of MrBeast, and I could be completely wrong here, but I think if it was me, I think fine, but I think MrBeast would have maybe preferred if he was just like, hey, like, that's cool, like, I'm happy for you, let's chat about it. Oh, you're not coming to work tomorrow? Okay, cool. Like, he would have been happier with that maybe, and then just address it on the channel, like, Chris isn't here for now, blah blah blah, and some stuff going on, and I think it could have been maybe easier, but it's not an easy thing for anyone to go through. The fact that he's there, like, it's because there is a lot of people doing really well from it and prospering from transgender and this openness and stuff like that, and that's fine, but it's also their brand. That's the thing, like, you've got people out there that are transgender, but they're knowing that's their whole brand is built around that thing, whereas it's not MrBeast's brand. MrBeast's brand is not that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
It's a sticky situation, I guess, right now for them, but obviously we don't know what's going on behind the doors, do we?
For sure. No, exactly. Anyway, yeah, great episode, Scott. I literally could sit here and talk about this sort of thing for hours. I'm sure we could easily fill another hour, but we should probably wrap it up there unless we've got anything else to say. Nothing from me. Have you got anything to add?
No, all good. I think we've dissected MrBeast.
Yeah, we have. But one thing we do on this podcast, at the very end, is we don't just dissect people, we also dissect ads. And we also play a game.
What a way to intro.
It's called Whose Ad Is This? And it's an exciting game that challenges you to guess the brand behind a well-known advert in only 40 seconds. Scott is 1-0 up, which I'm still gutted about. But today's the day that I pull it back. I'm confident, Scott. I'm confident. So you'll each be
okay.
given, we'll each be given 3 seconds, a 3-second clip. Both of you will have the other person's answer. We have it on Slack. Who wants to go first?
Who went first? Who went first last time?
Who had serve? I think you served, so I could.
Oh, okay.
I could go first.
Yeah, I'd say that it's on you, mister.
Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is.
You got a timer?
I mean, yeah, we could go in. Have you got a timer? Because it would be easier. Because I'm going to be watching the ad. You see.
Yeah, I can do it. I can do a timer. You're all good.
Just go on Google.
40
search timer.
seconds.
Okay. So just remember how it works, right? So as soon as I start, so as soon as you introduce it, I need the clue straight off the bat. I'm getting competitive, Scott.
I can tell. Okay. I'm going off my timer, off my little camera thing here. So your 40 seconds starts now. So, clue. The tagline at the end of the ad is refreshingly smooth, always worth it.
Okay, so it's definitely a beer. People slapping people. It's definitely a beer. It's definitely an American beer as well. This is an American ad, 100%. Refreshingly smooth tagline. Refreshingly smooth.
You're warm.
Is it
warm.
Coors Light or something?
Oh, you're close.
Budweiser? No, that's not refreshing. Bud Light.
Yes. 4 seconds
Come
spare,
on.
I think that was. 4 seconds.
Boom.
That was great.
That was good.
Yeah,
Dissected.
You went through the emotions there.
Yeah, it was just so clearly American. And I'm happy. We've equalised.
Well done.
We've equalised. I'm just hoping that that this is a little banana skin for you this week. I will do. Are you ready to go, by the way?
I am ready.
Okay. We'll start in about 5 seconds. You're probably watching it now. I know what you're like.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay. We missed that slot. Wait a sec. Your 40 seconds starts now. Guess the ad. The clue is that this ad unveils the first of its kind. This ad unveils the first of its kind.
This is for a phone, like a phone. I think they're all on the phone. There's a lot of famous actors in this. Yeah, this is a tough one. Like, there's a lot of famous actors. They're all on the phone.
10
they're all
seconds.
answering the phone.
5 seconds.
Yeah, this is not going well. I'm lost. No.
You could have guessed any phone.
No.
That's time. This was
what is it?
This was Apple. Hello, 2007, first ever iPhone ad. You could have just guessed iPhone. You said it's a phone, so you could have just said iPhone, which is like the most. It's the most common.
I was
phone.
trying to work out like what they was doing. I was like, right, they were on the phone, but they're all like old telephones. I didn't think iPhone.
Yeah,
Fuck.
well, so it's 1-1. Like equalised, a huge shift in the outset. I don't know what we do the score up to or when we end this. Maybe to the end of the year or something.
End of time.
The end of time.
Until one of us dies.
Yeah, we'll also have some guests on as well on this podcast. If you're still here listening, that will also partake in this. Guess the ad, I guess. If you've got any suggestions for us, then leave them in the comments. If you've got any suggestions for what other games we could play, also leave them in the comments, and we'll be sure to try them as well. That's it, Scott. This was awesome. Also, as well, if you've got any suggestions for people who you want us to delve into too, we done Gary V last week and obviously MrBeast this week. So anyone else, businesses, brands,
who would
people,
you like us to dissect?
Yes, let us know. Okay, that's it. Scott, have you got anything else to add, to say? Are we good?
Not that I can think of. I think I've taken up enough time.
That's it then. I'll leave you with this message. You never lose, you learn.
Oh.